What's up, traders? Welcome to today's daily recap. So before we get into it, I have to promote something, as I always do. Podcast, Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern with Chris Cady. This is a good one. I know a lot of you maybe don't know Chris because he's not a social media influencer. He is not very popular on social media, but Chris has been trading futures for over 40 years. So the experience that he has is invaluable, especially to a lot of us who have started trading futures now. So let's get into today's little video here. I'm going to show you before we get into it a quick teaser. Let me just move some things here. Check this out.
When we were in the ring, the people in the ring had more money than the orders. So that was a distribution that would generally distribute horizontally. In other words, you would spend very little time at the high, very little time at the low, and it would spend the most of the time in between those two. That was what you have the normal bell curve profile, and that was the distribution. When the outside money, the institutions started having more money than the ring, the brokers would come in and say, well, what's here? And we started to find out really quickly that they had more order than we could fill in the ring. Their size, they had golden massive, right? So we would just say, you tell us, we're not getting it. It's like, do you want to step in front of the freight train? No, I do not want to step in front of the freight train.
This is the steamroll, people.
Right. And so now you see that accordingly, because the ease of access, in other words, we all have the mouse, we see the DOM, because of the ease of access to the market, there's the illusion of liquidity, but there's not a collective group of people such as there were in the ring to actually try and contain the orders. So now we have vertical distributions, right? There's no resting anything.
Right.
So
it's tough to be a short.
Just a little teaser. It's interesting to hear a guy like Chris, especially in the beginning of that clip, talking about the ranges that are made, and that's where a lot of the time price trades within. And that was really the thesis in today's trade. So you see I have a long here at 923, right before I started my ASFX TV stream. I had a 10-point stop in. I traded it on the micros today. I just took a payout on this XFA account, so it knocked it down a little bit. So I'm going to make sure the first trade that I take after a payout is a good trade. And this was one that I felt pretty good about because I'm learning how to trade in a range better than I used to be, but I'm still not that confident in these compared to like the breakouts and the retests that I'm used to trading when everything is in trend and I'm just kind of following the freight train that Chris was just talking about. So in this case, I went smaller in position size, but I still wanted to feel the market and see if I can start to get better at trading ranges. The range that we're trading from here is a zone that you can see held multiple times throughout the day. Let me show you here. Set at yesterday's high. So that zone from yesterday's high ends up being the bottom that I look for longs off of. We get a little bit of a break above the daily VWAP there. Let me put the dot on for you. A little bit of a break above the daily VWAP there at 815, and then a retest of the zone again. Another bounce right before market open. That's the bounce that I was in. And then, as you can see, we sell off until about lunchtime. We bounce. We retest that zone again. It's 5112-ish, 5114. We retest that zone again, and then we finish the day lower, sucking lower now because Meta is down bad, even though earnings beat, which is always a weird thing to me still. Google's down as well. Microsoft sliding too, but somehow Apple's holding up. Interesting, right? So we'll see how tomorrow goes. It's going to be fun for sure, especially with earnings beat, but markets down. That's because they're forward looking. So what do they see? You have to read the reports and see. So we'll kind of play it as we see it, but I think the sell-off here to finish the day, we're closing the day red if you take a look at the daily chart. Still looking pretty bullish to me as a bounce here off of that. I know it's here, start of year VWAP. I know we've been talking about this in my daily videos here, but you got to put it on the continuous contract. You can't put it on the June contract. See, there it is. So I'm still looking like that's support to me. See my note here? So not ready to be a full bear yet, but we'll take it as we see it. Don't trade what you think, trade what you see. Chris says that in the podcast. So shout out to Chris for the quote. But that's really it for me today. I would want to show you guys one more thing. That was the trade. I felt like the way to trade it short out of the range, and this is kind of another thing I'm working on, is we move into expansion. So the expansion is we're sliding out of the range. I don't know if I would want to be a short here. I know we're not moving higher at 9:30 at market open, but we're not moving lower either, right? Once we do move lower and we slide for a new low of day, that's where I'm thinking, okay, the range, which Chris is talking about, a lot of futures traders talk about the range. That range is now being broken, which is the initial low of day and the initial high of day before market open, right? Set in the pre-market. So once that range is broken, Look at how we slide with momentum. And the entry I have marked here is that break of the daily VWAP, the entry that I kind of took a lot of inspiration from Brian Shannon on. This is really what he talks about, trading when the break from that anchor VWAP from the low of day or high of day is broken. That says sellers are really stepping in and taking control. So whether you take this break or this move off of it, I think selling was the direction for sure. Not trying to buy the bottom here because you're moving out of the range into this price expansion. And then if you listen to that story, Chris said, sometimes nobody steps in right away. And that's what you see here. Like, look at how it slides fairly quickly, even here, right? Closer to 12 o'clock. And then it moves sideways once they've decided they're going to have a bid come in at 50.87. They find a range, right? Somebody stepped in at around 50.80 today and caught it to create the first pullback. But this was the initial slide out of that range in that expansion mode that I'm talking about. So this is just something I'm working on, trying to pay more attention to, like, how to trade ranges. So that way I can be taking trades there. Even if I take them smaller for now, that's going to be a short-term thing the next couple of months, right? I'm thinking a lot more long-term than most of you guys. So I think I'd rather win small today than lose potentially big on something that I'm still feeling confidence in. I want to grow more confidence in. So that's it. Daily report card is done. Posted in the Black Shirt Club. It was cool. They mentioned me on Top Step TV today. At like 4 hours in, I marked it because it's fucking cool. I'm going to clip it and post it on social media because it's fucking cool. They shouted me out and they said, if I had a larger balance, they would give me a live account. So that's really cool to hear them see that I'm boring, bland, but profitable. And that's what you should do if you're trying to get payouts. And that's what I'm trying to do. I took a payout. You guys all saw that. So kind of leading the way as best I can. I know I'm not a Lambo boy, but this is going to be something that I scale pretty nicely here. I'm already going to buy another combine, 150K, because I got a discount on the fire sale. So I'm going to continue to try to put combines in rotation. So I have combines and XFAs consistently trying to move, especially if they're already thinking about putting me on a live account. So all good things, honestly. I'd rather be small red or small green than small red or break even, right? If there's a hierarchy of like what you should want to end your day as when you're a trader, of course it's big profit. Everybody wants big profits, but it doesn't happen all the time. Second thing should be a small win, then a break even, then a small loss, and then a big loss, which is inexcusable. So try to keep the break evens in higher regard than a small loss. Sometimes it's better to wash than to take a small loss. So you got to keep that P&L curve in mind. That's enough for today. Thanks, everybody. See you guys tomorrow on Evan's stream at 9 a.m. on ASFX TV.